So I've been saying I'm going to make this video for a while. And because I always have a question about whether a penny is a small date or a large date. Now, I'm going to give credit with credit. Obviously, I don't know, right? Like you, many of you anyway, you also don't know which one is the small date versus the large date on the 1960. There are probably maybe 1 out of 1,000, 1 out of 10,000 people know what they are. So I'm going to make this video, which obviously someone has to tell me so I can tell you, right? So I have an audience. I have almost 10,000 subscribers, and maybe I have more by the time you're watching this or what have you. But the point is, you're going to get it from me, and I'm going to try to figure it out with you. Okay, let me see if I put the light on, if that helps. All right, so we got the light on. So now you find yourself a 1960 penny, right? So there's a first of all, so there are a few things that I know about the 1960 and this one. So first of all, the 1960 is considered bronze. It doesn't matter if it's a D, no mint mark, which is Philadelphia. And it's bronze because the 1959, the 1960, and the 1961 have a little bit of tin in them, right? I think it's 2.5% tin. So there's 2.5% zinc, 2.5% tin. That makes the penny. So right off the bat, the 1960 is a special penny, right? It's a bronze penny. There's only 3 of them of the Lincoln Memorials that are bronze, and this is one of them. The Denver or the Philadelphia, they're both bronze. Okay, so now when you find a 1960, you know you got yourself a bronze penny that has some tin in it. Okay, and you can see it looks a little bronzy. All right, so now you know that. Now the next question is, right? So there's the Denver and there's the Philadelphia, right? And there might be a San Francisco, but I'm not sure if that's the proof. But irregardless, it doesn't really matter for the purpose of this video. I've never seen an S, but I'm sure they're out there. But you find yourself a no mint mark. So the no mint mark is Philadelphia, right? If there's no mint mark, so where's the mint mark? That might be your next question. All right, so this is, for those of you who do not know, that D is the mint mark. And you have to look at it a little bit close, right, to make sure it's not repunched. This one, I have to say, looks like it's, well, I can't tell if it's probably not repunched, but I don't know if that's a die chip on it or if it's just a little bit of damage. But irregardless, it's a D, so that means it's Denver. How about if there's no D there? What does that mean? There's no mint mark, I'm saying. Then that means it's from Philadelphia. Okay, so most people know that, but in case you didn't, now you know. Now, the next question is it a small date or a large date? Now, one of the questions I had before was whether or not the Denver also comes in a small and a large date. And so I had to look up online whether that was the case, because I didn't know, right? But if there's no Denver small or large dates, then let's just say the Denver comes in only the large date, then you wouldn't have to think about it, right? You wouldn't have to do any research or understand anything. You would just know what it is. But as it turns out, the Denver, like the no mint mark Philadelphia, comes in a small and large date. Okay. So now we know that regardless of what type of 1960 you find, a Denver or a Philadelphia no mint mark, you know that it's either a large date or a small date. Okay, so we got that. We know that the 1960 is, number one, it's bronze, so it's a little bit different than other pennies, most other pennies except the 1959, the 1961. And we also know that it comes in a small and large date, regardless of whether or not it's what mint mark it was produced from, Denver or Philadelphia. Now, again, and we also know that to check the mint mark, if it has one, to see if it's repunched. Pennies with mint marks, D or S, some of them have P. I'm not sure if they have P. I don't think there's any P mint marks until later years, earlier years, I should say. So, or is it later? Well, you know what I mean, like the 90s, 2000s. Some of those have P's. I think the 2017 has a P, for example. I'm saying, but they stopped punching mint marks in 19. They stopped 1990. 1989 was the last year that they punched mint marks. So you cannot have a repunch mint mark after 1989. You can have a double die mint mark, but not a repunch mint mark. So that's the other thing you want to check. Is it a repunch mint mark? All right, so we're going to say this is not a repunch mint mark. Now back to the original question. Is this a small or large date? Now, this is my understanding, and I'm gonna go through it with you. And I do not have, right. So this is either a small or large date. I do not have the other one to show you the difference, but this is what I do have a picture up on the screen, and I'm gonna give credit to heritagecoin.com for putting the image up on the screen. So I'm gonna tell you what I think this is by looking at what I see on my screen, which I'll show you in a second. Now, that what I'm going to say is probably the most obvious is the zero. Now, the zero is thin and it's pretty big. It looks kind of like a Cheerio or a Spaghetti-O, right? As opposed to maybe not a Cheerio, maybe a Spaghetti-O, because Spaghetti-Os are thin like that. But there's another one. So that's the large date. If you see the O, right, the zero, and it looks like a big skinny O, it's thin, then you know you have a large date. Now the small date, the O, looks a little smaller and a little bit more like it's thicker, like almost like more like a tire as opposed to a Spaghetti-O. So I'm going to show you now what Heritage has. And if you want to check out their website, you could probably find it. So I'm going to take off the light so you don't get the light from the TV on the TV. Okay, so if you want, you can freeze the image, and you can see on the top one says small date, and let me see, the top one says small date, and you can see the O is wider, it's smaller, but it's fatter, and the large date is larger and it looks skinnier. Then they have other references over here for the 1, 9, the 6, and the 0 for what you should be looking for. Okay. And then, of course, you have the and on this Denver, it's very interesting. This to me looks like a repunch mint mark. You can see that it's a little D. Actually, I don't know if it's probably repunched. So they put a light D on it, and they're like, "Oh, I put it in the wrong place," and then they repunched it in the bottom. So this one here would be an RPM, and I think it's a small date because that 0 looks fat. Am I correct? Let me see. Yeah, see, it says here the small date 6. So this is so they're referring to, but I looked at the 0 and I said, oh, that looks like more like a tire. See, and this one looks more like a little, like a halo or a Spaghetti-O. Okay, so that is, obviously you could have just looked at Heritage, but for those of you who are on my channel, so now if you look at the O on this, you can see right away that the O is skinny. It's a skinny O. And then, but it says something about the 9. It says the 9 is taller on the large date hub, also wider on the bottom loop of the 9 on the tail. Oh, I see. So the 9 goes down. Yeah, that one looks pretty, like it goes pretty low. Oh, look at this. This is pretty funny because I'm just noticing it in the camera now. It looks like it might have that repunched. Maybe that's very common. Have that little extra repunched D on the top. Let me put the light on. Maybe that'll show it better. Well, I can't see it dead on. I can only see it at an angle. It might be repunched. You never know. Anyway, I hope that was helpful. So you're looking for really the zero that is thin, a skinny zero, a skinny and a wide zero. And unfortunately, I don't have another 1960 small date to show you, but um, but I do keep these, right? I don't send these back to the bank. I put them in up. This one will go in a flip. It's in pretty nice condition. Well, anyway, I hope you enjoyed the video. Please click like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.